That is not going to be strong. You look at it sideways and it's going to snap off.
Tales of Weird Stuff presents SGI O2 Repair and Upgrade.
Back in January, when I made my little teaser trailer for videos that I was pretty sure I was going to do during the year, there was a bit that I did where there was some mysterious computer hiding underneath a sheet, and I cut away right before the moment of the big reveal. Well, this SGI O2 was that mystery computer hiding underneath the sheet. Now, I've had this computer since, I want to say fall of 2019, and I've only played with it a little bit. I have been wanting to get to it, to have some fun with it, and just never have until now. It needs some repairs, it needs some cleaning, and I have some upgrades in mind for it. So I think it's time to not make this thing wait any longer, not make you wait any longer. Just dig right on in. Before I tear this apart and start doing things to it, it is working. Right now it is booted into IRIX. I don't have enough cameras to be able to show that. I'll change that around for that later. It does have one issue that is apparently very common on O2s, where so I'm going to run the eject command. It's going to eject the disk, and I'm going to, rather than pushing on the caddy, I'm going to hit the eject. Oh, wait. Yeah. Okay, so it's... Oh, now it's going to work. Oh, there it goes. Okay. So there is apparently some gear mechanism in here that causes it to not want to catch properly when it's inside. There's a very common fault on the CD-ROM drive that is repairable. So I'm going to attempt to repair it. And if not, this front plate comes off and I can just replace this with another SCSI CD-ROM. So I'm going to do that repair no matter what. But the main purpose of this is going to be just to look inside this machine and to do the other upgrade that I have. All right, so now we've seen it working, or at least working enough that you can take my word for it. Let's rip this thing apart. Now I have a nice screwdriver handy, but the neat thing about SGI workstations and the O2 specifically is I probably won't need it until it comes time to repair the CD-ROM drive. By and large, they have catch mechanisms and really nice ways to take all the stuff apart. Now, I do want to do one thing quickly with this system first. The system is not physically very large, so it's, 11 inches deep, about 28 centimeters, 8 inches wide, maybe 20 centimeters, and then height. I'm going to be very careful with this because the plastic on these is so brittle and easily breakable. And it's maybe 12 and a half inches tall, about 32 centimeters. So it's not very big, but it is super heavy for its size. It is so dense. I'm going to try to hopefully we'll actually be able to see the weight this time. So this system, as configured, is almost 21 pounds. It is 20 3/4 pounds, or that's ounces, or almost 9.5 kilos. For a computer this size, it's a beast. It is so heavy. It is, yeah. It is deceptively heavy. Like, I would not, you see this little thing and you think, oh, I'll be able to just, whoop. And it's like, oh, no, there's my shoulder. Okay. Now, one thing I'll show. So I do have the cool version. This I/O module on the side here, which I think I can just take out. So I have the cooler version of this. There are two versions of this I/O module. One just does audio in and out, or maybe just in. Ooh, this is a little rusty. This one, however, will do audio and video in, and it has a special port on the back for SGI had a custom digital webcam. The O2 cam, it was called. It was sort of the improved version of the Indie cam. Now, I don't know what this interface is like. I wonder if it would be possible, if anyone has reverse engineered this interface, and it would be possible to do, USB camera to O2 cam bridge kind of a thing. It looks like someone's dog has chewed on this. I don't know. Anyway. Now, as easy as that came out, all the other pieces come out about the same. So here's the hard drive sled. Now, I suspect I am going to have to replace this hard drive in the not too distant future. I did get a warning message when I booted this up that I don't remember exactly I don't remember the exact wording, but it was basically warning me that this hard drive thinks that it is going to cease functioning soon. And then so the power supply comes out. Let's see, does that go this way? No, it goes this way. Comes right on out. And then the motherboard also comes right on out. And there you go. Oh, I did not realize that this was full. Oh, that is... okay. Well, that's interesting. I didn't realize. So inside here, I never realized the slot that this goes into looks exactly like a PCI slot. That is interesting. And then this has, so the one part where I may need to use a screwdriver is to get the PCI cage out. I don't remember how that comes out. I do see some screws. How does this want to come out? And then, of course, this is all of the RAM. And the main upgrade that I wanted to make, which now maybe changed, is I wanted to upgrade. I bought a bunch of RAM modules, and I don't even remember what size they are, because I thought that this was populated with just 2 memory modules, but it's full. I'm also not remembering what the actual RAM capacity was. Okay, so I'm going to take off this PCI cage. Oh, and how do you do that? I don't remember. Because this screw is to hold down the CPU riser. There's another screw. Does this just come out? No, it does not. Okay. How do you unattach? Oh, it does just come out. I just was not applying force in the right ways in the right places. Okay, so then I'm going to move this off to the side because it's blocking the light. And even though all the guts are removed, that is still heavy. Here's the CPU. So this particular one is I'm trying to remember the last time I looked at hardware inventory. I want to say this was a 200 megahertz R5000 with 512K cache. Trying to remember. So the other kind of cool thing that I would love to get my hands on is this connector here is for an extra module that would come out through this port here to connect to a special monitor that SGI made, the 1600 SW. It uses a weird digital interface, Open LVDI. Anyway, it was gonna be a competitor to DVI that just never was. There's adapters to convert it to convert DVI to use that. I have one of those monitors, and I'm going to cover that in another video. Let's pop these memory modules out. Let's get on with the task at hand here. Let's pop these memory modules out and see if they say what capacity they are. I don't know how readable it is yet. So it's 32 megabyte, 100 megahertz. So, and they are in pairs. So those will be a matched pair. So I'm thinking, I could have swore that this said it only had 128 megabytes installed when it was booted up, but it may have been 256. And this doesn't say, but we can compare. I can compare the RAM chips, and they do appear to be the same numbers. These are also 32s. Some of the ones that I bought, I know are larger capacity. So there will be a memory upgrade, just maybe not the upgrade I was hoping for. Those are also the same. Yes, these are all going to be. So it must have been a 256 meg system. And that also is the same number. Okay. So let's look at what I actually have here. That's weird. Okay, so what do these say they are? So these are... Okay, so these are also 32s made by Kingston. I guess I can zoom the camera back out a little bit. These are 32s made by Kingston. Got a lot of 32s, which as far as I know is the smallest capacity. What I'm looking for is something, so these are single-sided. What are these? That is interesting. So these are the same chips, but it's single-sided, so maybe maybe 32 isn't the smallest capacity. Maybe 16 is the smallest capacity. Okay, no. So this one says on it pretty clearly 128 megabyte. Okay, so where's your friend? I believe either 128s or 256s are the largest capacity. These, I'm not sure what those are. Okay, that's the other 128. And this is just like these. So these might all be 16s, except for, because the chip numbers appear to all be the same. Okay. Well, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through a couple of cycles of... These are definitely the largest capacity ones that I have. So I'm going to start with just those, boot up, see if it still works, and then go through and check all of these modules that I have added and see what they are and try to get this maximally configured. I'm not going to do that all on camera because it will take me a while and will be super boring. The one thing I'll do first, actually, so the upgrade I had wanted to do, I'll talk about that now. The upgrade I had wanted to do is at VCF West last year, I bought this, and I was very excited about it. This is a 195 megahertz, I want to say R10000. Does it say on here what this CPU actually is? I want to say it was an R10000 because I looked it up off the model number. Maybe there had originally been a label on the bag. Actually, is that 100 megahertz? Oh, it sure looks like that says juice good. I mean, I like juice. The problem is SGI. So I believe that with so there's a couple of problems. One, I'm missing, these are all of the CPUs with they designed them for this. They sit in this plastic carrier that holds them in place. And there's a different plastic carrier for this than obviously for this. I don't have that piece. And two, it is my understanding that because reasons, I think mostly because of this giant chunk of metal sticking down off the bottom, that there are supposed to be a couple little extenders. So there are little pieces in here. I'm not going to pull these out. But there are longer versions of these extenders that go in here that you need, because this will physically, it can't make contact. So even if I could 3D print a carrier for it, I physically can't plug it in unless maybe I take all these heat sinks off, or, I'd have to take all those heat sinks off, and it'd be very sketchy. And then in addition, I think that there's problems with the PCI cage, maybe if this is installed. So with this system, people have done these upgrades. It is possible. It's just the spare parts at this point are pretty much unobtainable unless you happen to have a different system that's junk, or you get a completely different replacement motherboard, or maybe the problem is where there's some problem where something doesn't fit, and maybe it wasn't the PCI card cage, maybe it's the SCSI, I don't know, it's something. Anyway, so my dreams of having a 195 megahertz R10K have been dashed on the rocks a long time ago, once I actually started looking at this stuff. Maybe someday I'll get another O2 and I can actually test this and verify it and maybe pass it on to someone else, but until then, it's just gonna sit in my parts bin. That took way longer than I had anticipated it might take. So the RAM is successfully upgraded from an effective 128 megs all the way to 320 megabytes. Now it turns out, so these are three of the modules that, I believe these are three of the modules that were previously installed in the system. If they're not the ones that actually were installed, they're ones that came in that pack that I ordered that were the same capacity. Was only showing up as 128 megabytes, but these modules are 32 megabytes each, so all 8 of them should have been 256. But as far as I can tell, it was only recognizing the first 4, because this module, I'm going to zoom way in on it, this module has a little problem. This little, I'm assuming capacitor is not properly on the board, and it was only after trying all the things and all the combinations I narrowed it down to wherever this module is installed, it stops adding memory, and that's a dead bank from there on. And then I pulled it out and looked at it. I was like, well, what the heck? Oh, and then I just saw it. So I could have, by shuffling the order of the modules around, had it to 128 plus is 192 megabytes instead of the 128 that was there. But now with everything, okay, so then these 4 modules that came with the stuff that I had ordered, that came with that other pack of stuff that I ordered, and I ordered these, like I said before, at least a year ago. I have been sitting on these for so long. The single-sided ones are 16 megabytes each. I was able to confirm that. That was what I thought, but yeah. So anyway, so I was able to confirm that. These are 32 megabytes each, and they seem good. Now this... One thing about these cases is this plastic on these cases is notoriously brittle, and it likes to just crumble apart. And one of the times I had to pull the motherboard carriage out, I don't know, at least a dozen times. And one of the times when I pulled it out, I went to set it down on the desk, and I kind of set it down on its edge. And this little bit right here
set it down, and this little piece just broke off and went flying, and then I had to spend like 15 minutes trying to find this tiny little black piece of plastic somewhere on the floor in here. Now, I'm pretty sure that I will be able to just use a little bit of super glue and I'll be able to repair that, but it's still kind of a bummer. So this phase is done. I'm going to move on to phase 2, which is I need to figure out how to get the case the rest of the way apart without breaking any more plastic. the real tricky part, so that I can get the CD-ROM drive out and try to either repair that little gear mechanism that has. My understanding is there's a little gear mechanism that kind of slips out of place, and if you push it back into place and put like a drop of super glue on, it's good. So I need to either get that out and repaired, or just replace. I mean, I have a bunch of other SCSI CD-ROM drives. I don't particularly feel like trying to get that off because I'm not 100% sure how that. Oh, it looks like maybe there's just little clips. I have never intentionally removed the faceplate off a CD-ROM drive. I have broken them a couple times, accidentally and sometimes intentionally. You know, percussive maintenance. So I may actually want to go look up how to remove this outer part without causing damage. I'm sure that I probably need to pull this. The other thing that I learned that is interesting is, ooh, sorry about that noise. The integrated speaker is in this module. One thing about SGIs, kind of like Macs, when they power on and they get to a certain point in their power sequence, they make a chime. I was a little bit weirded out for a while I was doing this because I didn't have this in and it wasn't chiming, but then the screen would come on. I'm like, what? Where's the chime? But yeah, the speaker is, I mean, you can see in through this grill, and I don't see a speaker, but it is in here, and I could definitely hear it when it was installed. All right, and I'm seeing some other dust, so maybe getting this the rest of the way disassembled and hitting it with some compressed air will be a good thing anyway. So let me take out the power supply again. Set that off to the side. And I don't see anything obvious. Like there are no. So the other thing that I found out, or that I was reminded of when I had this booted up and was looking at hardware inventory, is I was correct about the CPU model and the amount of cache. This is an R5000 with 512K cache, but it is only 180 megahertz. And the markings on the bottom, which will those show up? Yeah, so the markings on the bottom indicate to me that this was originally had a 200 megahertz CPU. So I'm not the first person to make changes to this hardware. Oh, that's another little damaged bit of plastic that just kind of fell out. I wonder what that's from. Did I mention that the plastic on these things is really brittle? Because I don't see any more catches or levers or anything. All right, I'm going to look up how to do this, lest I break anything else. I may have over the course of making my last few videos where I just went gung ho and there's even a video that I haven't published yet where I just like start taking out screws and it didn't go well. I should have read the manual. Who knew? All right, I'm gonna look up how to actually get into this. So according to the O2 manual, which I'm showing here, which of course was on sgistuff.net, says there's a tab up underneath here that I should be able to just push on. I don't feel anything in here. I wonder if that tab is... I wonder if that one random crumb of plastic I found was from that tab, because I don't feel anything up here. It says that will get this off. Okay, I don't know. Oh yeah, it looks like serious broken plastic in there. Because there is no tab on anywhere. Oh. Okay. Oh. Alright, well here's where the tab used to attach, and here's the tab. Well, that's a bummer. I don't think I did that. Oh man, and that is really wedged in there, which would explain why it wasn't rattling around, even though it is just loose. Oh, I'm looking at that. You can see super glue residue on there. So clearly that has been broken for a long time and had been super glued back on. I think we'll have to get some JB weld or something like that will do a better job holding that in place. That will be a repair for another time, I think. And I believe it said remove these screws. Just goes off to the side here. And then that's caught up on that. Oh, I see what it's saying to do. Okay, so you have to take the bezel off anyway. Okay, this makes sense. So you remove the bezel. There's these little... I'm not on the camera. Let me move this again. So up underneath here, there's these little clips. There's two of them. Yeah, push those up, and then this comes right off. And then you have to push that in, and then this slides right off. This outer part of the shell, aside from being dusty, I do not see any other damaged bits on that, so that's good. Oh, and there is a lot of dust up in here. Okay, well, that is definitely a job for compressed air. It's interesting because, you know, there was those other broken crumbs of plastic, but I don't see any spots. I don't see where those may have come from. If I'm going to replace that CD-ROM, I would not only have to do the bezel swap, but it has this hole. I'd have to... Well, hopefully I will be able to just fix that gear. Although now that I'm thinking about it, I don't think I have any super glue. So there may be more filming later after a trip to the hardware store to get some super glue and some JB Weld. To try to fix that. They were nice enough to put a little piece of paper on here basically to grab onto to help extract the SCSI connector. Okay. Really unusual. So this is probably manufacture dates. 4/29/97, so April 29th, 1997. Huh, very weird. Okay, so I will take this out to the garage in a moment and use the heavy-duty air compressor to blow all the dust out of there. This I am going to just take right apart and see if I can find this alleged gear. I actually don't know that I have ever disassembled an optical drive and had a look inside. Huh. This will be a first. Disassembled just dang near every other kind of piece of computer hardware. So the specific model is a Toshiba XM5701B from February 1997. Look at that one. We got it open. And okay. It does not want to come off very. This. So it sure seems like, yes, like this all should just come apart. Yes, and you just kind of got to work it. Okay. Now, that side is loose. Why is this side being difficult? There we go. All right, well, there's that part. There's a screw here that has an arrow pointing at it, so I'm assuming that that needs to be removed for further disassembly. Oh man, so many of these annoying ribbon cables. Okay, then how does this want to move or not? So these little clips hold in the faceplate? Yes, okay. Alright, so there's the front stuff all removed. Okay. So what is next? Or was that it? It's just these cables and frick. Oh. No, there's another screw that even has an arrow pointing at it. Okay, and I'm not going to get any further. Okay, which cables? I hate dealing with these ribbon cables. So what I'm trying to figure out is what is the minimum number of those that I can undo and still be able to complete what I'm trying to do. Because the fewer of them that I have to undo is the fewer of them that I have to try to reconnect. And that's the part that always, I don't know, always causes me a lot of frustration. And these look like ones that are just friction. This is one that has some kind of a clipping mechanism. And this one is just friction. I think I will do that one. This one I think is also just friction, so I will do this one. So I should be able to do that. Huh. So I don't see... Okay, so that moves the laser. That moves that. What moves this guy? Because I don't think it's going to be any of this, because this is just all the mechanism for moving the laser assembly. And there's a bunch of gears in there. Okay, so how do I get... I don't really see how I get the rest of this metal. Oh, hello. I'm trying to decide. That definitely does look broken. Okay. So I suspect that may be the actual problem. And that the rest of this may be for naught. Somewhere I have... Alright. Although with these disconnected... So I think I'm kind of looking down inside here. You can see various gears and whatnot moving, and here's the little catchment thing. I'm trying to figure out what this mystery part is that is the source of the problem, but I think is there a way to extract this from the rest of the metal housing so that I can see that above part? Be able to tell what the heck I'm doing. That is the real challenge here, I think. This process so far has been way more irritating than I would have anticipated. There are a bunch of bits of instructions online, but they are lacking. They say, oh, just take off the thing and remove the thing. And like, can you be a little more specific? So, so circuit board does not have to come out. Don't have to bother about with any of these cables. Okay. But this has to come out. And this comes off very... It's annoying. You have to let me see if I can remember how I did it, because I just put it back together. So you have to, like, I don't even think I put this, oh, wait a minute. I think I must not have put it back together correctly. What did I not do? Oh, okay. So I didn't put it back together correctly. to get it apart, you really have to pry these edges out and at the same time lift, because, all right, so when it's put back together properly, and it's still going to be difficult. Oh, I do not want to damage those wires. When it's properly put back together, these pieces of metal are between the plastic and the circuit board, so I may have to undo the circuit board to get these back together properly. And it's really difficult to get it apart. You really have to pry them out carefully, because most of this is plastic and will surely want to snap and break, and then you can get this off. Okay. Still not there. I mean, now you're at the point where you can burn your eye out with the laser. Okay. Which is also sort of the next really irritating thing about working on this drive is I have a power supply that will power the drive, but unless the drive is actually connected to a SCSI bus, you get this LED on the front will illuminate, and you can check various points and they will get voltage, but the drive will do nothing unless the SCSI bus is attached, which for doing this kind of testing and repair is super irritating. There are tiny little tabs on both sides, and I think the ones on this side were a little bit easier, so you have to very carefully, and they are really tiny. Use a very small flat blade screwdriver and pop them out. And so then, sliding the drive out, it just comes right out. This little gear right here is the problem. In its natural state, it kind of works itself up a little bit like that. And when it's up like that, just that tiny bit, drive will not stay closed. Drive will stay closed. Right? Just that tiny little bit of travel. So what I'm going to have to do, the description that I had read now makes sense. I want to push that gear down. And I've also noticed, this comes off pretty easily. Let's see if I can see where it is. And that helps a little bit. Right here where my fingernail is, there's a very small crack in the gear. So what I'm going to do, so I'm going to go to the store, because in the process of all this, another piece of plastic broke off. Like, I set something down next to it on the desk, and it just, I can't, dramatic head toss, the whole thing. So I'm going to go to the store. Just to keep back. I'm going to go to the store. I'm going to get some JB Weld for the plastic. I'm going to get a tiny little thing of probably super glue, and I'm going to put 1 drop of super glue on there. Yeah, in this angle. All right, I'm going to zoom back in because I want to show that crack in the. It is right there. I don't know if that is visible on the camera. Maybe just barely. Okay. So I'm going to put a teeny tiny little drop of super glue on there to keep the gear. So my guess is when the gear is not cracked, it is tight enough to stay in position. But then just because of the kind of plastic it is, once it degrades, it splits just a tiny bit, and now it doesn't hold on to this metal post tight enough. It's been a really long time since I've had to buy super glue, and now they come in multi-packs of teeny tiny containers, because let's face it, every time you go back to that container of super glue, it's a rock. Okay, that should be okay. Actually get any on there? Yes, a tiny little bit. Good. I think kind of the worst case scenario would be to glue those two gears together. doesn't even seem like something I would do. Psh. All right, so I'm going to leave that. I'm going to leave it tipped up a little bit so that if it... Yeah. And you can super glue, if you get super glue on your fingers or on things where you don't want it, within some limitations, you can use a fingernail polish remover to remove it. It's a well-known thing. The problem is if the thing that you got super glue on that you didn't want super glue on is something that is also dissolved by fingernail polish remover. But I think that it looks right. There's just the tiniest little dot on there because this doesn't need to do much. It just needs to keep it from moving up and down. I'm going to see if I can repair this. That is a good size piece that just kind of flaked off. How do I want to do this? I think I'm going to spread it on here and then apply it onto there. Ooh. Yeah, and that was why. Okay, and then I think I'm going to set this up on its end so that if that goes anywhere, it's not going to go inside. That crisis was averted, and oh, that's right. So this piece that was broken off here. All right, so what is my strategy with this? I think with this, I'm going to apply a tiny bit of adhesive on here, and then I'm going to put a bit of JB weld on the back, and I'm going to basically put a piece of this, break off a piece of this toothpick across the back and kind of encase that in the JB weld to sort of strengthen it up as much as possible. Because this bit of super glue is really just it's not going to give any strength. It is just to keep this part together until the component that will actually give it strength can be added. It's just scaffolding to hold it into place. Okay, so now that I should be able to just set off to the side and let it sit and think about its life choices. Okay, let's see. Does this still... All right. Yeah, the gear seems to still turn freely, I think. It's a little bit hard to tell if maybe it's sticking at some spot or if that's something else in the mechanism catching. I think as rapidly as it's turning, I think it's fine. Okay. So that should be fine. So this, fingers crossed, should be repaired. I just need to put it back together. And unfortunately, it does have to go quite a bit of the way back together before it can even be tested. Just because there's a lot of stuff that has to get held into place. And then I can just put this back together gently. If I can remember where I put all the pieces for it. Where did I put all the pieces for it? No, it's right here. Literally right in front of me. Okay, so this. Let's go like this. Yes. So the reason that it seemed that when I said that this side seemed easier, it's because this side only has 2 clips instead of 3. And when I was trying to deal with the 3 clip side at first, it was a case of there was enough tension in it that as soon as I got one of them undone and then went to go do work on the other one to pop it out of place, the first one popped back in. And it was just like, come on. Why do you have to make this so hard? Okay, so the circuit board's back in. So I think, technically speaking, that is the last required. Do I want to put this back on? think I will I will test it before getting it fully assembled. I mean, although at this point, since I've already applied the glue to it, I don't. If that doesn't fix it, I don't think there is anything else to do. That actually looks really good on the outside. On the inside, it doesn't look quite as great. This probably won't show up because there's a little tiny bit missing inside there. I think that's fine. Okay. Fully reassemble this. I'm going to do what I'd been doing before while I was trying things. I'm going to just set it up on top of there. Because that is metal and the circuit board is exposed, I have something there to act as an insulator. It is so nice about these SGI systems that they just use PS2 for the keyboard and mouse, which is nice. I have another SGI system that will appear on the channel very soon. It's an Indigo that has its keyboard connector is the same shape as PS2, but it is not PS2. So that's just rude. And then it also just uses VGA. Let's see this happen. All right, so. All right. And then where is the button for? Is it on this side? There's the button. Doesn't sound great. Great success! All right. So I'm going to, this is not booting into an operating system, so I'm going to just very rudely unplug it because the power button doesn't seem to, I don't know. Power button doesn't seem to be a power button. Let's go ahead and reassemble this all the way. All right, so my understanding from before was correct. In order to get things where they need to be, I will have to take these screws out. Okay. And then because I thought those don't go in there like that. They're right underneath. Okay, well let's. Okay, so I guess it's just like that, but something was. There was something else keeping this. Now I'm very much second guessing myself about where. Because there are, so it definitely goes like this. What was holding this together before? Because this was absolutely a solid mass, even with the screws in the state that they are in now. Before, when I was trying to get it apart, but I can see that there are guide holes and little plastic nubbins here to help to keep this lined up. And then that will go on like that. Why was this so difficult before? And what am I missing here? Well, I think what's going to happen is I'm going to put it back together the way it looks like it should go, even though that feels wrong, and I will put it, just kind of dry fit it in the system. I won't actually mount it until I can go back and review my footage. And figure out what I'm missing here, because I feel like I am missing something. That goes like that. Right. I mean, from here it looks right. I think I'm gonna call it good. I don't think I'm gonna stress about this any further. I may as well just go ahead and do that, because that is gonna take a while to set up. Oh, has this set up in the thing? Because I can't. I don't know. Okay. Maybe. There we go. That broke the dam. Okay. All right, so let's start with this piece. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to pick off a tiny bit of that toothpick. And goop it in. Okay. All right. That. I think that looks as good as it is going to get. Set on that. Now this part is going to be a lot more tricky. I wonder if I should do this. I'm going to do the super glue thing on this. Also, just use the little bit of super glue to hold it in place so that I can goop it up with the other stuff. So many times when I was a kid, using super glue during this part where you have to hold the thing in place and hold it steady for a while, I'd get my finger too close to the super glue and in the super glue and I would be super glued. You know, I feel like this is not a good design, right? This long, thin piece of plastic that has no support at all. I mean, it doesn't seem like that would ever break off. That doesn't sound right. All right, so I'm looking at this, and where this goes in here and it clips into that, there's not really any space on this side over here for any reinforcing epoxy but on this inside part here, I should be able to... How much clearance? Yeah, there's should be plenty of clearance around the metal parts in the case. So I'm actually gonna build that up fairly thick. And then, oh, that's still soft. Okay, I'm gonna leave this, and then I'm gonna go do some of the other things. I'm gonna wash that plastic shell part. I'm gonna take the rest of the computer out to the garage and use the air compressor on it. And then I will come back, and hopefully by then, magically, this will all be good to go. For a variety of reasons, I actually ended up letting everything set and cure and dry overnight. It's the next day. It's the wardrobe change. I'm going to start reassembling things now. I ended up... And I'm actually kind of feeling like maybe it's a good thing that I have the wrong color of JB Weld. So I ended up with a fairly goopy looking on here, but it seems really solid. So I'm feeling good about that. And then on the top, pretty goopy on this side. And then I got a little bit of a kind of a fillet in here on the other side of this. So I think this is pretty strong. I'm feeling pretty confident about this. What remains is to just put all of everything back together and and check to see if it still works. All right, so the faceplate goes on first. Okay. So that's in. Now the front part here will have to go on after. That will be the last part to be reassembled. The case is looking not perfect, but a lot cleaner inside after it spent some quality time with my air compressor out in the garage. They got to know each other real well. If there was screws on the side, there must have been screws on the side. That is fairly small. So we'll get this all put back together with the actual correct. Is that the correct original? Yes. The correct original components. Does not want to cooperate. Why are you being difficult? Okay. Guess maybe I should be a little more careful when I'm flinging that piece of plastic around that I've already had to repair once. Wouldn't that just be my luck? Being careless, flinging it around, break it again. Okay. All right, so that is all secured. This goes very gently on backwards. Done correctly. Make sure the little posts go into the holes there till they want to try to line up. Make sure it's all correctly in. These large screws in the top. I don't know why these screws are so mammoth to hold the piece of plastic on. That seems, I don't know, odd. Okay, so now the first moment of truth.
Will this fragile little tab survive? Okay, so I think it goes into that and then clicks in. Looks like that. Okay, and then can it be removed? Find the little tab. There's the tab. Look at that. Boom. Almost like I know what I'm doing. This fell out. Goes in here. I'm not 100% sure what the purpose of this little piece of metal is. I'm not 100% certain if that's correct, and it really does not want to fit in there. I think that's as good as it's going to get, though. I haven't gone and found one yet, but I am going to put a... there's not really any way to get a screwdriver in there to put a slot cover in. So there is a screw hole for a slot cover, but I feel like the way that this is constructed, there is not any way to get access to that screw hole to put a screw in to hold a slot cover on, which is probably why there is not currently a slot cover there. Okay, so we are now reassembled. All of the weight is back in. And I did put the hard drive in. Okay, so I don't want this to boot up all the way yet. I do want to catch it at the PROM, which is the word I couldn't remember last night when I'm sure some people were yelling at the screen when I was saying, oh, you know, the thing kind of like the BIOS, blah, blah, blah. It's the PROM. Okay. It's all good. So now I'm going to switch inputs on this monitor. It should be okay to plug this in. Okay. So now okay. Okay. Then how did this attach in? This. Okay. Woohoo! Okay, so now I'm gonna turn this on. I'm gonna rearrange some things, and I'm gonna reboot it actually into IRIX, so we can take a look at some things. I'm gonna move it. So previously, I've been trying to catch this stop for maintenance requester, so that it won't boot into IRIX when I'm trying to just do some experimenting around and see what's going on. But this time I do actually want to boot into IRIX. We'll call it a proof of life. So that was the message alerting me that the hard disk is probably on its last legs. That's fine. I suspect, I don't know. I'll replace it with something. And that's part of the reason why this is just a default, straight out of the box IRIX setup. I have done basically nothing to it. I haven't even set a root password. Because by default, when IRIX sets itself up, there's no root password. Which, if you're installing from physical media, okay, unplug the network, do the install, set a password. But most often people would
install over the network, and that, I mean, I guess it's a pretty, hopefully it's a fairly narrow window where your system is wide open for anyone to just own it. This machine is not connected to a network. And I don't know how well this teeny tiny font is going to show up on the camera. I may have to go around. The one thing I want to show is hardware information, main memory, 320 megabytes. So the upgrade was successful. All right, well, that worked out pretty well. Without any major drama, this system is definitely going to return on the channel. I intend to write some software for it, eventually do some upgrades, some other upgrades to it, and have some other adventures with this computer. If you've enjoyed this video, I would really, really appreciate if you would click that like button. If you are interested in seeing any of that future content, I highly recommend that you click the subscribe button. And until next time, try to remember the good stuff.